lined up for you today. We're going to give you a little bit of an overview about the pathway to settlement when you're starting a business in the UK, and what are some of the details and how does it kind of work through. We've had a lot of questions that delegates have asked us before at the time of registration. If today you have questions, use the Q&A box to write in your questions. And what we will be doing is we'll look at taking up these questions at the end of this session. And I will look at answering those questions as we go along as well. But we have, a separate slot for Q&A at the end, so we'll take it up then. So before we kick off, just a quick disclaimer. So the information that you will hear today is based on the immigration rules. But as it happens with not only UK immigration, but for any other country that you would look at, there could be specific instances which could be relevant to you. That could be areas that could be more, a preferred route for you. So use this information as a starting point to begin your journey on the exploration. And if you want a specific individual opinion which is relevant to your circumstances, then you can reach out to us, and we'll be happy to address it from your perspective. So what we're going to look at today is starting a business in the UK. Why is that such a great opportunity? How is that a pathway to citizenship for the UK? What are some of the popular routes that everybody's kind of looking at, and obviously the Q&A session. So we've got a bulk of the time for your questions to get answered. So use the Q&A box, start putting the questions in as it comes across, and we will be taking that up as we kind of go along. Right. So it's no surprise, in terms of the popularity for UK as a destination, because it's quite an easy place to set up and run a business. It takes only about a couple of weeks to be up and running. I mean, registering a company with the company's house is an online process. You could probably do it in a couple of days' time. So it's really that easy to be up and running in terms of a business setup. It's regarded as a world leader in innovation. Just in 2020, there were almost 20,000 tech startups that started in 1 year alone, which gives you an idea about the kind of environment, the ecosystem that can be offered to new businesses, because the survival rate, which is, you have a lot of businesses which will start, but how many of them will actually go the distance? The 5-year startup survival rate is almost 43%. So if you're starting a business in the UK, 5 years down the line, every 1 in 2 business will survive, which is a remarkable statistic in terms of from an entrepreneur perspective, as well as from a business point of view as well. And here's an interesting fact. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic that we've kind of been through and are still going through, 67% of small and medium employers, they generated a profit or a surplus in the last financial year. So it is a great growth story even during the pandemic. So almost 2/3 of the businesses were generating some kind of a profit or a surplus even in these times. So again, goes on to show how interesting it is from a business point of view, from a survival as well as thriving from a business perspective. It offers a competitive tax environment, so it's not a tax haven like the Caribbean countries, but at the same time, it has a competitive tax scenario, especially when you look at other kind of developed countries. It offers the businesses a stable environment, especially in terms of the rules, the regulations, the changes. They don't come as often, and if they're coming, then there's a lot of there's a lot of awareness and there's a lot of information, so businesses and individuals can be prepared when those changes are coming in, and a lot of resources are made available as well in that process. If you wanted to get global talent, it's really a great place to be, in terms of finding out a lot of talent, because you get students from around the world who are finishing courses in the UK. And recently, UK has also introduced a graduate route, which means if you are finishing a course, a graduate or a master's or even a PhD, you could get a minimum of 2 years or 3 years of work permission without having any kind of a job offer. So really the talent pool is kind of, going to go up once you have all these new graduates who are going to be joining the workforce. And quite simply, it's an environment which is a melting pot of different cultures, and it's really easy to find your feet in the country, even if you've never traveled before. And once you're kind of through that process, and you get onto your citizenship pathway, as a British citizen, you hold the seventh strongest passport, so you could travel to almost 185 countries and visa free, which is great. You have a right of abode, which means you could stay for as long or as little in the country, travel in or out, or relocate elsewhere, and still be able to get back to the UK without any issues. You get access to the healthcare. You could stand for public office, and here's a benefit that not a lot of people think about quite a lot, but the social safety net that is offered by the UK to its citizens, it kind of allows you to take a little bit more risk when it comes to doing business. It comes to taking that chance, because you know that there's a little bit of a safety net for you, even if things don't work out. So that's another plus point, which is available once you have your rights and you've established yourself in the country. Now, essentially, for any visa route that we look at from UK's perspective, the pathway to citizenship follows almost a similar track. In most cases, you're granted an initial visa, which is valid for 3 years. You can then extend it for another 2 years. And at the end of 5 years, if you've lived in the UK on a settlement visa route, then you could apply for an indefinite leave to remain. Now, what are the settlement visa routes? So skilled worker visa is a settlement route. The tier 1 investor is one. The global talent is one. The sole representative visa is one. So these are all settlement visa routes. The non-settlement visa routes are like your student visas. So, if you're going to be studying, say, a bachelor's course and then a master's course, followed by a PhD if you're so inclined, and you're spending a length of time in country, automatically spending 5 years just on a bachelor's and a master's will not give you a permanent residence, because student visas are not settlement visas. So that's a kind of a slight difference. But if you're in the UK for 10 years, then you can look at applying under the long stay route. And typically when you are applying for settlement, you'll be required to meet the English language test. You need to pass a life in the UK test. And more importantly, you have to spend at least 6 months in a 12-month period, in order to justify your residency in the UK, to show that, you made UK your permanent home. And once you have your indefinite leave to remain, then you could look at naturalizing as a British citizen, which is essentially what the pathway is. So the good thing about the UK immigration program is that the pathways are so clearly laid out that there is no ambiguity. You know that once you have an entry clearance, these are the requirements you need to meet for extension. This is what you need to meet for settlement. And this is when the residency will happen. And unlike some countries like in the US, there are no country-specific quotas as well. So it's not that if you are an Indian origin person, then you need to wait because your quotas might be longer, whether you're Indian or Chinese, and if you have another nationality, then it might be a bit more quicker for you to get settlement. So it doesn't work that way, which is great. Everyone is on par, and you know exactly how the process is going to pan out for you once you join in that process. So that's again the transparency, which is great from a migration perspective. Now, before we kind of go any further, just a little bit of an insight in terms of who we are and what kind of gives us a little bit more credibility to talk about this. So we are an immigration law firm. We advise and assist clients in their global expansion and global mobility areas. We have clients in 26 plus countries, and we've got thousands of success stories all around the world in different visa categories for different countries. You can check us out on Facebook, on Google. We've got reviews from clients who are kind of experienced the services firsthand, and they've shared their experiences. As a professional body, we are members of the Law Society. We're members of the Immigration Law Practitioners Association. We've also won a bunch of awards from Who's Who Legal, from the corporate immigration side of things. So essentially, we have established our credibility over the last kind of 15 odd years in the field of global mobility, demonstrating success, helping clients to build their success stories. We've helped clients in different industries, from different industries, whether it be gems and jewelry, training and development, even heavy industries, engineering, or the smaller engineering products, textiles, startup businesses, legacy businesses which have been around for almost 100 years or so. So we've got a diverse range of clientele. We've got a diverse range of industries that our clients come from. So what all of this has done for us is it has given us the ability to identify what can be the best possible route, or what can be the best possible pathway for an individual, and how can they look at making it happen. So it's helped us to build in a more kind of a solution oriented approach, and it's exciting because our clients have gone on to do bigger things when they've made those decisions, whether it is starting new operations, whether it is investing more money overseas, whether it is joining in reputed bodies around the world. And it's glad for us to see that we played some part in facilitating all of that. So that's a little bit about us, and that's a little bit about our work that we've done. Now, going right into the meat of the issue in terms of how can one look at starting a business in UK? Well, typically, there is a whole spectrum which you could go with. At one end of the spectrum, and is the tier 1 investor visas. Now, these are for really high net worth individuals who are able to make an investment of at least £2 million, which is about 20 CR in today's rupee terms. And essentially, they can take this money and put it in their own company in the UK, and then use that money towards construction, whether they want to get into housing, whether they want to get into any other kind of a business, real estate, they could put that money in that way. And it's a fantastic route because it doesn't have an English language requirement. It's probably the only category from a UK visa perspective that obviously does not require for the investor to be able to speak the language. Even if you're not proficient in English, you could still look at making an application. And it is really amusing because we see a lot of our clients in this category of visa. They're typically landowners who have ancestral properties, or who have land which they would have sold, or they have stocks and equity which they have sold, and they use that money to then apply under this particular category. And it allows you to take your spouse and children till the age of 18 to join you as dependents on this particular category. And as I said, you could put the money into a business in the UK, and it could be in any domain. So that's one end of the spectrum. We also work with a lot of businesses on the corporate side of things who want to set up a presence in the UK, and they want to then send either their senior employees or their mid or junior level employees to go and work in that particular subsidiary. And that route is the tier 2 or the sponsor license route, and that kind of falls under the points-based system. So when you look at the skilled worker visa, or when you look at the intra-company transfer, all of that falls under this category. So this is defined by the fact that there is a company in the UK which has been set up, and then it is bringing in employees to that particular company. And this generally works for bigger corporate setups, or where people have more than one person who's looking at migrating, or more than one person who's looking at setting up a business. Then that's a great route to kind of explore. We've seen a lot of buzz over the last couple of years on the innovator and the startup visa routes. Now, these are incredible routes if you are somebody who's got a crazy innovative idea, who is on that path to look at making a difference by offering something which is very unique and different, they could look at going in on the innovator visa. If you have a little bit more experience, you have some capital that you prepare to invest. So it's about £50,000 that you can look at investing on the innovator visa. The starter visa actually does not have any investment criteria. So that's great. And it's especially good for career freshers, especially good for people who want to make a start on a new and an innovative business in the UK. So, if you are one of those people, we'd be happy to have a chat with you, understand your concept, understand your idea, help you to kind of flesh it out a little bit more, and then make an application under, under this particular route. So that's the innovator or the startup visa route that we look at. Of particular interest is the sole representative visa or representative of an overseas business. Now, this is one of the most popular routes that we see to bring business into the UK, because unlike the other categories, this one doesn't have a minimum investment criteria, and it is not only geared towards those radical, innovative, ideas-driven people, but even regular businesses, old school businesses, legacy businesses can look at applying under this. So there's no restriction that you have to be somebody who is very tech-driven, who's got a techie business idea. But even if you had a regular trading business, you were into training, you were into textiles or retail, gold jewelries, whatever, you will still be eligible to apply under this particular category. So officially, the sole representative visa is known as the representative of an overseas business. Now, as the term suggests, overseas business means any business outside of the UK. So, we have clients from India, we have clients from Pakistan, Bangladesh, West Africa, Middle East even. So any business which is based outside the UK can nominate a representative to enter the UK and set up a branch or a subsidiary. So when a business nominates a person, the person can enter the UK, set up a wholly owned branch or a subsidiary on behalf of the overseas business. And this will give the business an opportunity to tap into the UK market without committing to a huge amount in terms of investment, without having to have the pressure to say that, we have to generate a certain minimum amount for a turnover or to employ people. So in that case, it becomes a fantastic entry route into the new market. And it also allows the applicant to bring in their family members. So spouse and children till the age of 18 years can join the main applicant in the UK. The spouse can work full-time, the kids can work if they're eligible to or in that age group, and it becomes a pathway for settlement for everyone. So unlike countries which would generally say that you age out of a process and the kids can no longer continue, if your kids have entered the UK before they turned 18, they can continue to remain in the UK, get the settlement, become a citizen, even if they age out. So, even they cross that threshold, they're still able to do that. So that's an amazing opportunity that gets offered to individuals to naturalize, not only for themselves, but also for their families. And once you're there in the UK, you are eligible for a mortgage. You could look at buying property, residential, commercial, land if you wanted to, and you can take the advantage of the lower interest rate. So typically the interest rates in the UK vary between 1 to 2% on the housing side. Project finance can be availed easily as well. So you can get access to comparatively a cheaper capital when you have permission to live and work in the country. So that's again a great thing. You could make investments in other companies and businesses. So, we have local partners like Hamilton Businesses, we're also on this call today, who offer investment opportunities to clients, whether it is, whether they want to buy hotels or whether they want to buy other companies, whether they want to make investments in construction. So we can handhold them through the entire process. And It's quite interesting to kind of have this as a pathway because it allows the company to test the waters in the UK without making a commitment of a substantial investment. So unlike a tier one investor, you're not taking in 2 million in straight away to look at investing. You could subsequently choose to bring in the money, but then that's on your timetable. So looking at this in a little bit more detail, what are the criteria that we want the applicants to meet? So typically a sole representative must be a direct employee. So they should not be an agent or a reseller who is being appointed or on a commission or somebody who's a marketing representative for that business, but they have to be an employee. An employee can have a business development role. So a lot of our clients would want to send somebody who's a business development manager or who's a sales head or who's an international business head. So as an employee, you could have a sales function or a business development function, but you cannot be somebody who's outside of the setup. You have to be somebody who is part of the company. And that is something which is really, really important. Now, typically, a sole representative cannot be a majority shareholder as well. So either directly or indirectly through, through surrogates or something on those lines, you should not be owning more than 50% of the shares or controlling more than 50% of the voting rights. If you are a owner of your own business, if you're a sole proprietor, and if you wanted to kind of identify this route for yourself, then that's not going to be feasible. You can nominate one of your employees to enter the UK as a sole representative. But if you are the sole proprietor, if you own your business 100%, then you wouldn't be able to make that jump. So then we'll have to figure out another route, whether it is the tier 2 on the sponsor license side, which could be a better proposition. Or if your business is innovative, then maybe you could consider the innovator visa as a pathway as well. So that's just one of the caveats that you have to be cautious about. It's not compulsory for someone to be a shareholder in a company. So even if a person has no shares, that's fine. But if they do have a share in the business, then it should not be a majority shareholding. And essentially, a lot of times we get this question, and I can see this coming along in our Q&A boxes as well, in terms of, who could be a sole representative? Can they be a spouse? Can they be a sibling? So yes, I mean, they could be a sibling. That's no problem. So if, one of the family members was running the business as a proprietorship, they wanted to nominate their sibling to be the sole representative, that's perfectly fine. I mean, it's no problem. And if the sibling is working in the business, then they could look at, entering in as a sole rep as well. Again, that's not a problem. A lot of times people ask, and I can see this coming through as well right now, is what is the turnover that a business is looking at? Well, the short answer is it's not about a minimum number. We've helped businesses which are in the startup phase, so they have zero revenue, and they have been able to nominate representatives. We have clients who are turning over as, about 3 to 4 CR in Indian rupee terms. That's about 200,000 pounds or $250,000 in turnover, and they're able to nominate sole representatives as well. So as long as the business can demonstrate that it is actively trading and it has a presence outside of UK, so it's headquartered outside the UK, it could be anywhere, and it could have multiple branches outside the UK, even that's not a problem, they can be eligible to make an application. Now, typically, what we're saying is when a business is nominating an employee, they need to be able to show that they have adequate funds to support the branch in the UK. Now, the difference is you don't have to commit to making an investment, but you have to be able to show that you will be able to pay salaries for the person that you're sending to the UK. You'll be able to meet the expenses for marketing, for an office setup if you were looking at it, or a warehouse if you wanted to get it. So you have sufficient funds to start off on that process without taking recourse to any public funds. So that's the important kind of criteria that the Home Office would be looking at when they're looking at deciding on the application. Now, applicants have to be outside the UK for sure, and they have to be an employee of the business. They could even be working in a media house, so you could be a correspondent, you could be a reporter, you could be an editor. You could even look at that from a media's perspective. So it's not only related to business, but even from a media perspective. And the employee's role must be at a senior level. So, it says senior employees everywhere on the guidance, on the rule book. And a lot of times people wonder that, okay, a senior employee, how old must a person be? So should they be 40 or 50, in order to be classed as a senior employee? Well, not really. I mean, if you are, it's not a deal breaker. You'll still be able to get in. But we've done applications for individuals who are in their 20s, they're 22, 23. So it's not about the age of the person, but it's about what kind of a job are they doing. So if your job is the one which could be classed at the senior level, then you would be eligible to make an application. We already covered the fact to say that you should not be a majority shareholder or a partner in the business. And unlike the investor, because you're not bringing in £2 million at the moment, you would be looking at meeting the English language requirement. But again, this is at an A1 level. So if you can speak and listen English at the basic level, which is at A1 level, then you would be eligible to take a test and even kind of look at entering in. And lastly, as we covered in, the business must have adequate funds to support this expansion. So if a business is able to show that they have maybe say £50,000 or £100,000 available in liquid funds or in working capital or with the directors as part of their net worth, and that they would be prepared to make this investment in the UK if it is required or when it is required, then that is something which will meet the requirements for this particular category. So it's just like when you are considering making a visit visa application to another country, you show that you have access to a lot of funds. You have savings, you have stocks, you have mutual funds, you have assets in your home country. Now, the idea is that you're not going to spend all that money on your holiday. But what it does is it gives the decision makers the confidence that you're not going to work illegally, you're not going to take public funds, you're not going to become a burden on the state. In the same way, when a company is choosing to send someone overseas, the company needs to demonstrate that it has sufficient funds, whether it is profits, whether it is share capital, whether it is reserves, that they have all of it in order to be able to support their employee when they're there in the UK. When it comes to an extension, there is no minimum investment guarantee that you have to do. So, we advise clients to apply under the provincial programs for Canada. And if you're applying under the PNP, whether it is British Columbia or any other province, there is a minimum investment guarantee. So you commit to making an investment of, $300,000 or $600,000. You commit to creating 4 to 6 full-time jobs. But unlike those programs in Canada, the sole representative visa has no commitment from the business's perspective to generate jobs or to make investments. If you are able to do so, and if you are able to generate employment, then that's a bonus. It kind of helps with, with obviously your business perspective, but it's not an immigration requirement. And that is what sets this program apart from the other programs that, we advise clients on. And if you are an Indian business, and if you are, into products and services in India, it's a win-win scenario, because from an Indian perspective, your GST on the exports are 0 rated. So you're not paying GST on that. You get incentives on exports when you're sending, and you're earning foreign exchange for the country. You have duty-free imports is available for manufacturers to make export products. So, if you want to bring something in, finish it off, and then export it from here by adding some value, again, you get a value add to that. You can secure your payments through the ECGC. Exports are a priority sector always. So as an Indian business, you are in a stronger position because it's a win-win on both sides. The benefits that you get in the UK, plus what you can get from your from structuring the transactions from from your home country's industry. So having understood the process, it's worthwhile to see how the flow is going to work on this. So the first stage in this process is to do a personalized review. So what we do as a company, we have an initial screening where we'll assess the feasibility to see whether or not you meet the requirements for this, and whether this is a good route forward for you, or would there be another better route for you, or different route for you, which would be more appropriate. If we're on the same page, if we can establish the eligibility, we then go on to prepare an application. The applicants then go into for their biometric appointments. And once their visas are granted, they have up to 90 days to travel to the UK. So it's not something that you have to act on immediately, but you have about another 3 months to make your travel plans and all the rest of it. And once you land in the UK, we support you with your incorporation. If you need help with kind of concierge services to sort out your housing, schooling for the kids and things like that, we have service providers who could do that, registering you for your health services, your national insurance with the HMRC and such. So all of that is kind of taken care of. And incredibly, this whole timeline can be completed in 4 to 6 weeks. And it's amazing because we've seen clients who want to take advantage of a business opportunity. So one of our clients is in the business of making disposable plates, and they're into packaging and such. And with the boom in kind of, people staying at home, ordering in and all the rest of it, they saw an amazing opportunity for their disposables business, for their packaging business, and they wanted to leverage that. And even though we started the process in the pandemic, they were able to finish this in 4 to 6 weeks time. They were able to get their person into the country in the UK. And, we were delighted to learn recently that, they actually doubled their sales over the last 9 months by just being in the right place and ensuring that, they were able to surf that wave when it came through. So in that scenario, this is an incredibly quick process. I mean, if you are exploring, say, the US or Canada, those processes take at least 3 to 5 months, and they don't have the same kind of speed with which, on a single window, you could get the whole process done. And we're able to kind of advise on this because it's not just a one size for everyone kind of an approach that we have. Our expertise extends beyond the UK. We can advise clients for expanding to the US, to Canada, to Portugal, or look at other options within Europe. So we have a variety of options, and we have successfully represented our clients in all of these areas. We actually do know what it takes for someone to have a successful profile, for someone to be able to build on these credentials and kind of find the right fitment for an individual. So again, that gives us the depth to think in the best interest of a client, to say that, okay, this is how things could work through. And depending on the monies available for investment, depending on your life objectives, depending on what you wanted to do once you were in another country, we can provide a tailor-made solution